All right. Got Jason Priester on the line talking college football. Clemson takes on Pitt at Heinz Field. So I'm going to set you up for the answer since you told me, because I was wondering, when was the last time that Clemson, as they are this Saturday at Pitt, an underdog in an ACC game?
2014 in Tallahassee against Florida State. Last time Clemson was a regular season underdog against an ACC opponent. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Wow. What fascinates me around that time in ACC football was that Florida State had the place that Clemson now has, and Clemson has the place that Florida State had for a couple of years after Clemson took over. They were fighting to get there, and they had some really nice seasons, obviously, beating LSU and Ohio State in bowl games, but they couldn't quite catch Florida State. And of course, it was that 2015 game that turned it in Clemson's favor, but Florida State was still a top 10 team for a couple of years after that and still a tough out. And now they've drifted off into the abyss, and Clemson's just completely owned the conference. But now they take on a Pitt team that, aside from an odd loss against Western Michigan, 44-41, has been pretty impressive.
Yeah, this Pitt team's explosive. Kenny Pickett has just developed into a high level quarterback, and it's kind of been fun to watch him grow, because let's face it, when he first started out as a freshman, he wasn't very good, and he is fantastic. He's a phenomenal quarterback now, probably a first round pick next year, and it's been amazing to watch his development. This is an interesting game for Clemson, because they are struggling so mightily on the offensive side of the ball, and Pitt's averaging like 48 points a game. It takes Clemson 3 games to score 48 points. It's just going to be, if Clemson has any hope in this thing, they're going to have to, that defense is going to have to play another, knockdown, drag out type of performance, and them grind out another win like they have so often this season. There's definitely no way they can get in a shootout with this team. If they let Pitt get in a rhythm early on, this thing could get ugly, because I just don't think Clemson has the firepower to be able to keep up with them.
Got to say, Jason, you're right on my take on Kenny Pickett. He came into the game in 2017 against Virginia Tech as a freshman, and he did some decent things, and they almost upset Virginia Tech. Then he had kind of his coming out party, not necessarily as this kind of passer by any stretch, but in terms of winning a big game. Miami came into town 10-0, number 2 in the country, and that was his first start ever as a freshman. And basically it was a run game and defensive kind of game. It wasn't like he did anything special, but he managed the game well. He made some plays with his legs. They win the game against Miami, and he's been the starter ever since. And that was in 2017. And I know a lot of people that kind of got a take on Kenny Pickett early in his career, and they haven't really looked at what he's done recently. But you're right. He is turning into a top-level NFL prospect. 21 touchdowns and 1 pick, 70% completion percentage this year.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. That Pitt offense is just humming on all cylinders right now. Like I said, he's probably going to be a first round draft pick. I saw a number the other day. I wish I could remember what it was. I'm trying to find it now. Where how many first round? Let's see. This will be if Pickett were to go, or no, if Pickett were to go in the first round this year, to be the 7th time Brent Venables has faced a first round NFL quarterback since 2018. So I mean, Venables is definitely no stranger to scheming for these quarterbacks that produce at this level. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention. Go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say that's one of the things I'm most looking forward to is this Clemson defense against that offense.
Yeah, they like to they don't dink and doink it down the field either. You got Jordan Addison. He's got 34 catches, 9 touchdowns. He's at 17 yards per reception. He's been around a long time. Taser Mack as well is at 16 yards per reception. So they will gash you in the pass game. They're not afraid to chuck it downfield and really go for big shots. And he's got the arm to do it.
Yeah, this pass defense is going to have to be on his P's and Q's this week. Andrew Booth was out last weekend. They should get him back this week. They're hopeful to get Fred. They're supposed to get Fred Davis back this week, so that's two big boosts to the secondary that they didn't have against Syracuse. And they're going to need those guys because, like you said, this Pitt team likes to chunk it all over the field, and they like to chunk it down the field.
Got Jason Priester on the line talking Clemson football. You can join Jason on allclemson.com on SI. And even though it's a non-division game with the way North Carolina State's playing, so North Carolina State got one of its big matchups out of the way, and they took it to Boston College 33-7. So they're playing better football as we go along. Of course, they've got the head-to-head on Clemson. North Carolina State's got no losses. They got to lose twice, so Clemson cannot lose another game.
No, every week, Clemson's got to bring it as best they can. There's no more margin for error. If you lose another one, you're definitely out of it. I mean, it's very possible you're already out of it now. Like you said, North Carolina State got past one of their biggest tests of the season in the ACC this weekend when they beat Boston College. They still got to play. North Carolina State still got to play Wake Forest, but I don't know that there's two games on there that I see them dropping. I fully expect they'll drop one. It's North Carolina State and Dave Dorn. They're not going to run the table. They never do. But I just don't know that they're going to drop two. That's probably going to be wishful thinking on most Clemson fans' part if they're waiting for that to happen. But, realistically, Clemson's still alive. So for the fans that are griping about no quarterback change and why they're so conservative on offense, well, I mean, that's why they're realistically still alive for that 7th conference championship, and that they've got a good enough defense that can win it for them, as long as the offense don't go out there and beat themselves. If the offense can put up 15, 20 points a game, that defense, most of the time, that defense is going to be good enough to give you a chance to win, as long as your offense doesn't go out there and, start turning the ball over. Clemson's going to be conservative on offense, at least until they drop another game. They're not going to start trying anything crazy.
One of my favorite stats in recent times involves this matchup. I don't even have to look it up because it's just stuck in my brain. Kenny Pickett threw for 8 yards against Clemson in the ACC championship game in 2018. If he throws for 8 yards, the college football world will be shocked.
That was a miserable night in Charlotte. It was kind of cold and raining, and I imagine it was even more miserable for him because he did not have a good game that night. That Clemson defensive front dominated that game. Unfortunately for Clemson fans, it's not the same defensive front. Still a dominant defensive front, not that same one. And Kenny Pickett is not the same quarterback that he was that night by any stretch of the imagination.